Okay, we're ready to get started adding in the actual form elements inside of our form tag. So I'm going to insert a div inside of my form. First thing I'm going to do is insert a plain generic div. I've clicked with my cursor at the end of my opening form tag. I'm going to hit the enter key, and then I'm going to press the tab key once just to tab over one. This is just for visual appearance to try and keep everything lined up here. Doesn't affect how anything works. And under insert here at the top, I'm going to choose div. And I'm not going to fill in any additional information here, just click OK. Now I want to assign this div to a bootstrap class of form group. So how do I do that? When I want to have my div selected, so I can see div is highlighted here in the status bar, but the whole div content is not highlighted over here in code view. So to make sure that I have all of my div selected, I'm going to click on my div in the status bar. Now all that's been highlighted, and now to add that, to make it a member of the form group class, I just, in the property inspector, click on class. And now I get all of those Dreamweaver Bootstrap, here we go, form group, that's one we're looking for. So now, div class equals form group, and we don't need that placeholder content. Content for new div tag goes here, so we're going to delete our placeholder content. Now on the right hand side, we've always been working pretty much with Bootstrap components, but we're going to click under the drop down menu, and this time we're going to choose form. And Dreamweaver does give us the option of selecting form elements from this right hand panel, and right now there isn't going to be any difference between selecting them from the right hand panel or from the top menu panel. We're going to switch to live view. So I'm going to go over here. Right now we're in code view, and I'm going to click and switch to live view. We don't need to be in split view, just plain old live view, okay? And I want to make sure that in my status bar I've got my div class form group selected. And now I'm going to add a text element. And the reason we're doing it from this right hand panel in live view like we are is because Dreamweaver is going to add in a few extra things for us. Particularly when we add in the text field, it's also going to add in a label for us. If you try and do it the other way, you'll realize that method we're doing now, Dreamweaver is going to do a little extra work and make us be able to finish things up a little bit quicker. So that's why we're choosing to do it this way. So we're going to add a text element. So we've got insert, form, and then click on text. And then Dreamweaver wants to know, do you want to put it before or after the currently selected element, or do you want to nest it? Well, we want to nest it because we want our text element to go inside of that div, right? Okay, so we got that nested. Now, here in our property inspector, we're going to, this new input field that we just dropped in, we want to give it, we want to make it a member of the class form control. So under class, we got form group. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to try to find form control. Okay. Notice that when we did that, things kind of, in the display over here, we had our components jump down to different lines, and that's because we're adding more and more Bootstrap classes to this form. You could spend a lot of time working out how you want to have all the little different forms, the labels, and the input fields, and get everything spaced to look nice on a page. We don't have to do that because we're using Bootstrap, and we're using these built-in Bootstrap classes that already have all the nice formatting for us. So now in the property inspector, for our newly inserted input, that's what we just now added. We can see here in the status bar it says it's an input. We're going to change the name of our new input to first name, FIRST underscore NAME. And naming is important. We do need to make sure that we get that name correct. We're going to set the tab index to 1. So you can use the tab key on your keyboard when you go to this web page to scoot around between different fields. Now we're going to put a check mark next to the required box, meaning that you cannot submit this form unless there's something in there. Now we have a placeholder field which puts in temporary text until people start to fill it in. And for our placeholder, we're going to type in first, capital F-I-R-S-T, and then name, N-A-M-E. So that's going to be our placeholder. Now this next part, we want to, I'm going to change where it says text field here. I want to double click on this and change it to first name. Now I want to mention something right now. This can be a little tricky to do. Usually I do not use live view to input text because it can be a little tricky. If you wanted to switch back and do this in design view, that'd be fine too. If we switch to design view and then just double click where it says text field. Now this is important. Be sure to save those colons there, because this text field is actually contained inside of a label. If we look here in the status bar, we can see that there's a label, and it's possible when you highlight all of this text, because we want to change this from saying text field. Text field doesn't mean anything to anybody. We want to change this to first name. It's possible to not only delete this text, which reads text field, but to also delete the label as well. We do not want to delete the label. So the way to make sure that we don't delete this label is to just leave those colons. Get rid of everything but those colons. So I've got, let me try one more time. So I have the words text field highlighted. Just make sure you don't type over those colons. And I'm going to type in first name, F-I-R-S-T-N-A-M-E. Now we're going to switch to code view. Let's have a look at this in code view. And I'm going to select this div that holds all of these parts for us, right? This div class equals form group. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to use the status bar to select all of the code in one shot. We're now going to make a snippet out of this. And the reason for that is in the Bootstrap framework, this is how we build a form element. We have a div that's a form group. Then inside of that div we have a label. And then after that label we have an input field. And we have different things assigned to different classes. We're going to be doing this several times. And there's no reason to keep doing the same steps over and over and over again when we can just turn this into a snippet and drop it in every time we need it. And when we create another web page, we've already got the snippet. So we're going to use snippets again. You remember all about snippets, I'm sure. So we're going to open up the snippets window. We can either go under window and choose snippets or hit Shift F9. Okay, and you can see here's our original snippet we had from starting code. Okay, now as you may recall, on the bottom of our little pop-up box here, we want to click on this little plus icon, and we hover over it. It says new snippet. So let's click on that and create a new snippet. And our new snippet dialog box opens up. You can see that the code that we just created is all contained inside of this. In the field name up here, to name our snippet, we're going to call it form group. F-O-R-M _ G-R-O-U-P, form group, okay? Just like before, we're going to choose insert block, because every time we use this, we're just going to, boom, pop all this code down in one shot. And then we're going to say OK. And now you can see we've got two snippets. We've got our form group and our starting code. So we're done with our snippets. We're going to close our snippets. And I'm going to hit Save All. And when we come back in our next video, we're going to open up our snippets and we're going to just drop in our snippets to create more fields for our form. But this is a good place to stop.